Kyle Shanahan took the mic and gave an update on a number of things. Injury report for the San Francisco 49ers, who's coming back, who will not be ready by week 7, and Fred Warner's message to the fans on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. And welcome to all the new listeners. Please consider subscribing on YouTube. Helps us out tremendously, or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And drop us a line in the YouTube comments. Let us know what you're thinking about the team and any topics you want us to hit as we roll toward week 7 of the 2025 season. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. I want to start with Fred Warner's message to the fans now that he knows he is out for the season. Confirmed broken ankle, dislocated ankle. Kyle Shanahan given a timeline. 3 months is the timeline, Croc, which feels a little quick for that devastating of an injury when your body parts are turning the wrong way. But that just means that, surgery on Tuesday for Fred Warner, and that he'll likely be ready to go and have somewhat of a regular offseason when we start talking about the spring and those type of things. And he should be ready to go and hopefully 100% to start camp in the regular season, which is really good news for a devastating injury like we saw occur to Fred Warner on Sunday. And he had a message to the fans, Croc, and I want to relay that here for those who have not seen it. I believe it was on Instagram is where he posted this. And he said, quote, "There's certain games you wake up knowing it's going to be your day. And yesterday was one of those days. I knew I was about to go off. And then boom, everything over in one instant. That was completely unpreventable. The love everyone has shown me and the prayers being had for me mean the world to me. Some ask why I was able to smile on the cart heading in. And it's because aside from the shock, I have complete peace in knowing God's plan is so completely perfect and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I've had the privilege of being able to have a very healthy 8 seasons, and now it's time to inspire through the comeback I'm about to have. It will be legendary, all caps, and right on time, God willing. Thank you guys. Love always. Go Niners." And that is the message of positivity from Fred Warner as he embarks on his comeback and hopes to be as strong as ever when he returns in the 2026 season. So wishing Fred Warner well. He's really one of the easy guys to root for in this game.
Yeah, it's always good to see a guy in like good spirits, and it sounds like he's at peace with what happened, and he's looking forward to making a big time return to the 49ers. And I think with one of these injuries as well, we talked a little bit about Dak Prescott and maybe kind of having to build back up to looking a little bit more like himself athletically. I think with, obviously the mental hurdle part of the injury that Fred Warner is going to have to get over. That's the thing that I'm curious to see exactly how quick he's able to grasp it and be himself. And some guys are much quicker than others. Some a little bit timid. They're thinking about it a lot. And I've seen other guys where they had an injury and I feel like they were over the injury right after they had their surgery and they were ready to attack rehab and had some tough times, but definitely made it through it. So Fred Warner seems like a guy who's going to attack it head on. And again, is already kind of, I think, attacking the mental aspect of the injury as well.
So Kyle Shanahan was asked the question that we pondered last night post-game, Croc. He was asked, after Fred Warner's injury now, does that make the 49ers less likely to be buyers at the trade deadline for either a linebacker or a defensive end that they've been rumored to be calling about in recent days and since the Nick Bosa injury? And he said this, which is interesting to me. Quote, "I don't think we were being that aggressive. We're just looking for things that make sense for our team right now. And in the future, not having Fred makes that harder." So essentially, Kyle said 2 things there. One, Yes, this Fred Warner injury makes it less likely that the 49ers make a move, but they weren't being that aggressive to begin with, which kind of goes along with the thought process that we were talking about where, yeah, probably shouldn't expect a Trey Hendrickson type move. And maybe you should expect a 6th, 7th round pick swap for Arden Key from the Titans. If the 49ers are going to make a type of move that's cheap, that doesn't affect their future, or if they do add somebody that's somewhat pricey on the trade market, whether it's, salary or draft picks, it's going to be someone who's a part of their plan going forward too. So potentially I could see a move that helps them this year that also continues to help them next year if it's a significant move, Croc. That's how I read this. How do you read that quote from Kyle Shanahan?
Well, I hope it was they're just not aggressive yet. And we continue to kind of bring up the Emmanuel Sanders and him at the trade deadline, or maybe even the Christian McCaffrey. I would love to kind of hear a backstory on how that trade came up. But did you go into the season thinking, oh man, got to get a running back, got to get CMC? I think with the receiver one with Emmanuel Sanders, I think they kind of knew this is a youthful group or a little bit of inexperience in any one of these guys, like being the actual guy at the NFL level. So we may have to make a trade. But yeah, I bet if something, like you said, just made sense, I think they would pull the trigger. I don't think they're there yet. But how could you, let's say Fred Warner didn't get hurt and you watch that defense, maybe it doesn't look quite the same. But clearly the defense has some holes. And there's clear areas of where you can really, really improve. How do you watch that and say, you know what? Now we're cool. And I don't think they're doing that. This has been one of the most aggressive regimes at acquiring talent, whether it's through the draft, several trades. I mean, their first one is they traded up and wanted to get Reuben Foster. They've moved around a lot, whether in the draft or in before the trade deadline. So yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that. Unless you're saying, well, we're looking for Trey Hendrickson, you got to get him right now. Like, yeah, I don't think they were on that.
What was it,
But a couple of weeks
2021?
from now, I think they would have been far more aggressive than how he's coming up, making the scene.
Was it 2021 draft where they traded all of their picks? They didn't pick a single time with where they were supposed to pick from their original 7 selections.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to be aggressive and they're going to make moves if moves are out there that make sense. What makes sense is the biggest question, and that idea I got from Kyle Shanahan is being something that is either not expensive for this year, or if it does cost a little something, it's going to be something that helps them next year. So either it doesn't hurt them next year, or it hurts them a little bit in draft picks, but also helps them because the player's still going to be around and part of that plan. Diana Rossini did report.
This is a regime that not only traded for Randy Gregory because they needed defensive end help and they wanted a pass rush, they turned right around and traded for Chase Young. Like, these are the same guys. So they are clearly more than willing to be aggressive. And I think if there was any time to be aggressive, it's right now.
I mean, that was a much different team, though. I think more Super Bowl ready in 2023 when they made those moves than this team is right now. So I could see why they would be much less aggressive now, even though Diana Rossini reported that 49ers general manager John Lynch said that the team is exploring trade options on the pass rush market. This was before the last game. And this is Diana Rossini saying that she expects the 49ers to check in on the availability of Cincinnati's Trey Hendrickson. She did not get that from John Lynch. Trey Hendrickson hurt his back. I don't even know what the prognosis is on Hendrickson right now, if he's too hurt to even be traded at this point, or if there was a minor back injury. There was another report that the 49ers had called the Packers about defensive end and pass rusher Kingsley Enagbare, who would be more of a rotational guy, not a super expensive piece. And if we expect a trade, I think that would be, a more Enagbare than Hendrickson type of a deal is what I would expect right now if the 49ers still did make a deal before the trade deadline. But again, they've still got to go win a few more games, and we'll see where things are at after week 9. I believe November 4th is the trade deadline. So, check back in on Halloween, and we'll see how we feel about this team, if they're ready to make a deal or not, or if another opportunity presents itself that they think makes sense and doesn't hurt them next year, and they can make that move, anytime still, I think. But I wouldn't expect an aggressive move. And here's the other part of this, Croc, with the aggressive potential move from the 49ers. And I'm going to bring this up next because I think it's going to add to the conversation here. And it's a quote from, it's not exactly a quote, but it's something that Kyle Shanahan told Tim Kawakami about how Kyle feels about this team. And again, this was last week before this latest game. And I think it's pretty telling and informing about the mindset that the 49ers have and what they think about their own team in 2025, and more injury updates from Kyle Shanahan, including rookie Jordan Watkins. George Kittle could be coming back to practice. We'll get into all of that next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment even, your next Lyft ride, and much more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. And Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. You're earning points every month on something that you already had to pay anyway, which was your rent. And whether you're grabbing local favorite restaurant food or heading to the gym, you are still earning rewards with Built. That's Built, B-I-L-T. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt, joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL to make sure to use the link, and so they know we sent you at joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. This episode is also brought to you by Rugiet Go Long. What do you get? It's all about confidence. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, right? Pure confidence. So if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. Rugiet Go Long isn't just about taking another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you know you can go the distance, and effects last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. So are you ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com, Rugiet.com, and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off your first order. That is Rugiet.com, promo code LockedOnNFL. Make sure you use our code so they know we sent you. All right, Croc, last note on the idea of making a trade and where the 49ers are right now with all the injuries, what we feel about this team at 4-2 after 6 weeks of the season, and what Kyle Shanahan felt even before this week about the team and what he felt about the team coming into the year. There's kind of an underreported nugget from Tim Kawakami last week. So this is post-Rams game, but pre-Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Tim Kawakami tweeted that he asked Kyle Shanahan if there are similarities between this 4-1 situation for the 49ers and in 2019 when the Niners made a go-for-it trade for Emmanuel Sanders. And Shanahan said no. This is different because the 19 team was set up with a Super Bowl-level defense and just needed a wide receiver. So essentially, Kyle's saying, man, we were ready for a Super Bowl. We needed this one thing. And this team does not just need one thing. They are not Super Bowl ready. What are your thoughts on that from Kyle Shanahan? He's saying that about his own team last week.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with him. If you kind of look back to that time, they really put a lot of emphasis on building the defense up and acquiring as much talent as possible, to the point where in 2019, they probably did look out there and be like, golly, look at our line. Like, look at this front four. Look at this linebacker group. Look at this secondary. I mean, we rattled off some of the names that were on that defense, and it's pretty star-studded, especially for a group of guys who just contribute at a high level. Who's the worst player on that defense? Jaquiski Tartt, and I think he was a damn good safety for the 49ers.
Who was the number 2 corner? It was Sherman and
it was Witherspoon / Emmanuel Mosley.
Mosley, that's right. But Mosley
closed it out.
Yeah, he hit that year in 2019, right? Yeah.
Matter of fact, I want to say Witherspoon started off with a bang. Remember, I mean, he started off. It was almost like he was a top 3 corner in the league. Like it was crazy. He had a hot start over 3 or 4 games. Then he got hurt. And Emmanuel Mosley came in and had a terrific game against Odell Beckham on primetime television. And from there on, I mean, he played very well. So I mean, CB2, they were pretty strong. They were strong in the nickel. They were strong on the outsides. Richard Sherman was an all-pro. Yeah, Jimmy Ward. Again, Jaquan Tart, I think Tart might have been, and I think Tart was really good. I think he was one of the better safeties in the league at that time. But they were just so loaded.
You had year 2 Fred Warner, and then the defensive line was stacked. And that's really the big difference is this is not, especially without Nick Bosa, you just got to be real. Without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, this is not a Super Bowl caliber defense right now.
Was DJ Reed? I mean, was DJ Jones on that D-line?
DJ Jones was a backup because he was kind of like Eric Armstead was still playing defensive end back then. So he was kind of the big end. He would move inside a little bit, and then you also had D Ford and Nick Bosa that were the big offseason additions there. And then you had obviously DeForest Buckner, and then you had DJ Jones as well. So you had the big man beefy lineup, and then you had the speed lineup as well, where you could have Eric Armstead on the inside, and you pull out DJ Jones, and then you bring in D Ford. So that was a Super Bowl defense. The 49ers do not have anything close to that right now.
No. I think for the 49ers, they probably would hope that they had a Super Bowl offense. And that's tough to have when you're missing Brandon Aiyuk, you're missing Ricky Pearsall, you're missing your starting quarterback, but he'll be back. I mean, you're missing your O-line isn't as good as that season. I'd say one of the greater things, if you want a positive spin on kind of this team, this situation, is that at this point right now, with all the injuries, with all the issues, with all the ups and downs, having to play Mac Jones a ton, who is filled in well, having to sign guys like Kendrick Bourne off the street, who has filled in well, having to play Robinson after missing a few games early, the 49ers are 4-2. They are 4-2. Now, how sustainable is this? How long can they play to kind of keep things afloat with the roster? Especially you kind of look at some of the teams. You're like, you play the AFC South. Well, I just saw Atlanta beat the Buffalo Bills.
The Falcons are bipolar.
I said AFC South, NFC South. But you play the AFC South as well. But yeah, I mean, those the Carolina Panthers, like they just beat the Dallas Cowboys, who maybe the Cowboys just aren't good. But there's some teams that you thought. We always knew that the Tampa Bay game, that was going to be a tough one. Like, we knew that from the jump. But the other NFC South teams, and especially you look at the AFC South teams, like, oh, those are kind of W's. And some of those teams like, yeah, you thought we're pulling out some wins right now.
By the way, congratulations, Nick Moody. Or it's not Nick Moody. I did it again. Jake Moody getting the game winner for the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football to close out Week 6. Found himself a job, was activated from the practice squad for the Bears, and hit the game winner. The Bears defeated the I don't know who's good anymore. The Bears are 500 now, right? The Commanders are now down to 500. The Bears are 3-2 because they had a bye week. Commanders are now 3-3. The Panthers are 3-3. You never know what you're going to get from the Panthers. I still think they're mostly bad. The Falcons, depending on the week,
that running back is playing at like on an all-pro level over the last
Dowdle. Yeah, I went up against Dowdle in a fantasy league this week, and he put up 30 points on me. I was like, Rico Dowdle? I got to worry about Rico Dowdle?
Yeah, he did it last week, and I thought maybe it's a fluke, and then he just did it again against the Cowboys. Defense really bad over there in Dallas. But yeah, to be 4-2 and to be competitive, because that's obviously, I've been waiting for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl since 1994-95 season. The thing that I enjoy most is watching a competitive team. So the 49ers can find ways, at the very least, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. Everybody wants to see them win that Super Bowl, that quest for 6. But to be competitive, and I think they're finding ways to, at the very least, be competitive in games. Now, Tampa Bay, they were missing some studs, too. We're talking about all the injuries the 49ers have. They didn't have Bucky Irvin. They didn't have Mike Evans. They didn't have Chris Godwin. They lost Ibuka in the game. So they're like, dude, we're really banged up and we're hurt as well. I get it, but it was still a competitive game. And I think for the 49ers, how long can they keep it competitive with these games? But that's still a bright spot for them because, like, well, you got George Kittle coming back. His window just opened up. I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, but starting to look at some of these guys, you know, Brandon Aiyuk, there's some updates coming out where I feel like there's a little bit light at the end of the tunnel to where maybe it's not this Super Bowl contending team, but it's a team that 49 fans can enjoy watching potentially down the stretch. So if that's the case and you view it that way, is there a trade that can make them even more competitive? And I think that's where Kyle Shanahan is going to have to figure that out over the next week.
Offensively, a number of players could come back for the 49ers in week 7, including, as Croc mentioned, George Kittle. We'll get to the injury report from Kyle Shanahan going into week 7 next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you in part by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NFL Week 7 is now here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Don't know how long this offer is going to stick around. So if you're interested, you got to check it out because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. The most I've ever seen FanDuel give away in bonus bets. $300 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Weekly lines already up all the way through the season on FanDuel. You can play player props. You build your own parlays, follow live lines during games, live in-game betting, and that's just NFL. There's college football, Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA and NHL getting going as well, and tons more. And whether you're a casual fan or you love diving deep into this stuff and all the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience more interesting. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. So according to Kyle Shanahan, they're opening up the practice window, and there's a very good chance that George Kittle is going to be back on the field for the 49ers in week 7, which will be a huge boost for that offense. And another pass catcher, rookie Jordan Watkins, that we really don't know a lot about and haven't had a chance to see much of. He potentially could join the 49ers at practice this week as well. So that is the good news for the 49ers and potentially getting a couple of playmakers back on the field. I don't know if Watkins is a playmaker. I have no idea what Watkins is. But we might find out sometime soon. He did have a couple of nice plays in the preseason. As for Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy, they are day-to-day. It did not sound by the tone of Kyle Shanahan's voice that he was optimistic that Brock Purdy was going to be ready to go in week 7. So if I had to guess, it's going to be at least one more Mac Jones game for the 49ers. But we'll see how the week goes, and we'll see if Ricky Pearsall and or Brock Purdy are going to be able to go. But getting George Kittle back is absolutely massive for the 49ers. So I'm excited for that one. And then the other note that that Kyle Shanahan dropped on everybody was that Brandon Aiyuk, there's kind of an update and kind of not an update. Essentially, Kyle said, according to Matt Mayoko, that, quote, hopefully Aiyuk's getting closer and closer, which I believe he is, but we're not putting an exact date on it. That didn't stop Matt Mayoko from putting a date on it, though. Mayoko said that potentially looking somewhere like around week 10 for a possible return for Brandon Aiyuk, which is coming up pretty soon. It's right after that trade deadline. So early November could potentially be a time that Brandon Aiyuk joins the San Francisco 49ers, according to Matt Mayoko, even though that's not exactly what Kyle Shanahan said. But maybe Mayoko, it's got that insider information, got another report coming from the building on a little bit more exact idea of when Brandon Aiyuk could be coming back. So week 10 would be a nice time for Brandon Aiyuk to return to the San Francisco 49ers. You start looking at that offense, and you could build the case that the offense might be ready to do something, and just make sure you have enough pass rush to make this thing interesting and fun down the stretch, right, Croc? And so I'm with you on that, and it doesn't have to be a super pricey addition. And here's the other thing. I wonder could a defensive tackle make as much sense as a defensive end for the 49ers if you're projecting a player is going to stick with you and be around into next year? Because they don't have much of an interior pass rush at all. And the guys they added are more run defenders than anything. So could the 49ers add somebody that gives them a push as a pass rusher from the interior, because they're planning on keeping that player around next year when Bosa is back and you have Mykel Williams in. And so, yeah. And who knows, maybe a couple of guys. If they're cheap, if it makes sense, you could add some players. If you don't have a pass rush, it's not going to be all that fun going down the stretch, I don't think, for this football team. Because we saw what that looked like in 2018, right? That was such a big difference watching the 2018 49ers defense that had a lot of the same pieces in the 2019.
Are you saying that Cassius Marsh was not a great pass rusher?
He was, in fact, very easy to replace, contrary to what was told to us at the time about the all-world pass rusher that was Cassius Marsh, and they replaced him with not one but two players, and it made a massive difference for the 49ers. I
can't believe John Lynch said that.
Yeah, he was blowing smoke nowhere. That's what that was. He knew he was full of it when he said it, but he's like, what are we going to do? This is our guy. I can't say, well, Cassius Marsh sucks, but we're stuck with him. He can't say that, right?
Yeah. The 49ers, I think, when I think of especially some of these pass catchers that they're getting back to, especially if week 10, you see Brandon Aiyuk. I just watched Brandon Aiyuk highlights a couple of days ago. Sometimes you need a refresher, right? I mean, it feels like it's been 2-3 years since he's been on the field with the San Francisco 49ers, as opposed to really just almost like a calendar season coming up now. But I got excited all over again, just watching just the route running, how he makes plays. And then you start to envision what that would look like with Ricky Pearsall, because I think their games can complement each other. Now, I think the Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, that whole dynamic, which was awesome as well. I mean, those guys were explosive in their own rights, but just having two guys who are like super like receiver type guys and win a similar way to where if you're a defense, how are you going to defend these guys? Because they can both win in certain areas the same type of way. Maybe one guy at when he's healthy, right, at a higher level. But I'm excited to see Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk on the field at the same time and what that does for defenses. And we may not see the best version of that this year, but just in the coming years, and if you can kind of grow, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are kind of out or not really feeling Brandon Aiyuk right now. And I didn't fact check this, but I saw somewhere where people were saying he removed all his 49er stuff off of his Instagram page.
Turns out that was inaccurate. He just never refollowed the team from when he unfollowed him last year when they were going through their whole thing, I think is what ended up happening. So yeah, it's a lot of nothing. There is still a little weirdness though, because there was some one of the beat writers was mentioning something about how Brandon Aiyuk really hasn't been around all that much, and that maybe some of the stuff that we were seeing with the running routes in front of the media and on TV was kind of for show, and made it seem like he was close. Remember when it felt like, oh, he's close, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, he's not even anywhere near close. And it was like, well, what's going on? There's still to be a little bit of a disconnect there. I don't know how much of it, and we really haven't gotten to see a lot of Brandon Aiyuk since he signed that deal and had the holdout last year. And we definitely haven't seen Brandon Aiyuk with Ricky Pearsall. They were active at the same time, I think, but I don't know how many snaps they played in the same games last year, because by the time Pearsall started getting some run, Aiyuk was already out.
And Pearsall missed the first quarter of the season with the, obviously he had the chest wound injury. And then a few games after he was coming back, Brandon Aiyuk ended up tearing his ACL. So yeah, they definitely weren't on the field a whole lot together. And the version of Ricky Pearsall is clearly a different version than the one that we've seen so far this season and towards the end of last season as well.
One last note here from Kyle Shanahan on a 49ers wide receiver, and that was about his sideline altercation, if you want to call it that, a little heated emotional argument with Juwan Jennings on Sunday. And Kyle said that, quote, Juwan's a very emotional player. I think that's one of the things that makes him great. So anytime we have a tough loss like that he's banged up and playing through a lot of stuff, I don't think he's in the best mood, especially after a loss like that. But Juwan is good. Juwan battled completely to come play in that game. And I know he'll battle again to do it this week. I got a lot of love for Juwan, and I just hope he can get healthier so he can get back out there and be more consistent for us. There you go. We're good. Kyle always likes to say that. Yeah, we're good. Him and I are good.
Well, I mean, it felt like everything was kind of burning down, with Debo Samuel. And
Yeah.
he wants a new contract. He's saying, I'm not coming back. And he's at the club. And he's like, kill that sign.
Yeah.
And Kyle Shanahan's like, no, we're good. We had a good conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, it looks like he hates you guys.
Yeah. Might need to reassess who's actually good and who's not. That's one of those heat of the moment things, though. So I'm never, someone yelling on the sideline of a game when things are tough. I'm never going to look too much into that. So I'll trust Kyle Shanahan on this one with Juwan Jennings. Competitor. Can the 49ers stay competitive with all these injuries and no Fred Warner? We'll find out. Week 7 is the Atlanta Falcons. It's going to be a primetime game Sunday night with the Atlanta Falcons. Look like George Kittle will be back. We'll find out later in the week who exactly will be playing for the 49ers this week. So stay tuned. We got a Winky Wednesday and a whole lot more coming up this week. Of course, a crossover with Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons as well to get you primed for that next game in week 7 against the Atlanta Falcons. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subbed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And Croc and I back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.